Ever find yourself wondering about those individuals who just seem to possess this incredible magnetism? What if there was more to it than just what meets the eye? More than just good looks or a charming personality.
That's a fascinating question, yeah. And today we're doing a deep dive into a pretty unique document that, well, tries to tackle that very idea. It's
Yep.
titled
Yeah.
NLP Psychic Seduction.
Okay, psychic seduction, that definitely grabs your attention. So this document we've been looking at, it lays out a series of rather extraordinary techniques,
Right.
all centered on mental influence and attraction.
Right.
Now, right off the bat, it's important for you listening to know, the author presents this stuff as entertainment. And they explicitly state that these methods shouldn't be used to, like, manipulate others or bend their will.
Uh-huh. They advise reader discretion, ethical consideration. It's stated quite clearly.
Exactly.
But, despite that disclaimer, the core claim is that mastering these mental techniques allows someone to stir up feelings of attraction, even incite infatuation in another person.
So while they say be ethical, the whole point seems to be about influencing desire using the mind.
Pretty much, yeah.
And for you, our listener, who we know likes to get right to the heart of things quickly and thoroughly, rest assured we're not about to cross any ethical lines ourselves here. Our mission with this deep dive is really just to explore the core ideas presented in this document. This whole notion of mind power, these, well, they call them hidden energies, and the techniques it describes for influencing attraction. We'll touch on the foundational concepts, maybe some of the more imaginative techniques, let's say, and the principles behind them, at least as the source presents them.
Think of us as guides through this rather peculiar intellectual landscape.
Exactly.
So where does this exploration into psychic seduction actually begin? What's the starting point?
It kicks off with a pretty fundamental concept, the power of the mind.
Mm.
The document basically puts forward this idea that our mental capabilities, they represent a real form of strength, and that our thoughts have this, well, remarkable ability to shape the world around us.
How so? Do they give examples?
Yeah, actually, simple ones like bridges and buildings, pointing out that they all began as just thoughts, right? Ideas in someone's mind before they became, physical things.
That's a classic starting point, isn't it? The idea that thought precedes physical reality. So how do they suggest we can, amplify this thought energy? What's the mechanism?
Well, the document suggests enhancing this energy comes from becoming really deeply aware of yourself and your surroundings, almost like achieving a sort of heightened state of consciousness.
Okay, self-awareness.
And then it really drills down on the importance of concentration and visualization. Those are presented as the essential building blocks for, wielding this mind power.
And it gets quite interesting in terms of progression, doesn't it? It claims that with practice, serious practice and visualization, you can go beyond just seeing images in your mind to actually experiencing them with all your senses, feeling textures, temperatures, even smelling and tasting what you visualize.
Right. And this enhanced sensory engagement, according to the document, supposedly translates to a greater ability to influence others.
Which then naturally leads into this whole concept of hidden frequencies and energy.
Yeah, this is where, for me, it started to get particularly interesting. The document uses an analogy. It compares it to things we know exist but can't see directly.
Like what?
Like, the scent of flowers on the breeze or radio waves zipping through the air.
Okay, things we accept are real but invisible.
Exactly. And it uses that to introduce this idea of a human invisible frequency.
A human frequency. Is it presented as something physically measurable, or is it more metaphorical, maybe?
It definitely leans more towards the, let's call it esoteric side. The document basically posits that just like those unseen things exist and have effects, our minds can influence events through these hidden energies. It even draws parallels to things like positive thinking and, well, even the concept of magic.
Right, and then it brings in this idea of a fundamental life force energy. It uses different names for it: organ, prana, ki. You hear those terms in various traditions.
Yeah.
And the claim is that this energy, this sort of stuff of life, is actually receptive to mental control.
That our thoughts shape it, and then it helps shape our reality.
Which circles back to visualization again, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Visualization is really hammered home as the key tool for interacting with this energy, influencing your life, your environment, all of it.
So the idea is if you vividly picture what you want, it's like you're, quote, tricking the subconscious. That's the phrase they use.
Yeah, tricking the subconscious into setting things in motion to make those desires happen.
Okay, so we've got mind power, Hidden energy shaped by thoughts, visualization as the key. How does this connect to the seduction part? The document then shifts to lowering brain frequencies for synchronization. What's that about?
Well, this is where it tries to bring in a more, let's say, quasi-scientific angle. It's attempting to ground it a bit. It talks about how our brains emit electrical impulses, brain waves at measurable frequencies.
Right, like beta, alpha, theta, delta waves. We know about those.
Exactly. And then it makes this connection to the Schumann resonance theory.
Ah, the Earth's frequency thing. Around 7.83 hertz, isn't it?
That's the one. The document suggests that if you can consciously lower your own brain frequencies down to that specific level, 7.83 hertz, you can somehow tap into this, quote, vast, inexhaustible supply of life energies that supposedly permeates the planet.
Okay, so syncing with the Earth frequency gives you more juice, essentially. More power for your thought.
Power, yeah. But more than that, apparently. The document claims that at this specific frequency, your thoughts can actually penetrate other people's minds, subliminally.
Penetrate their minds? How?
Creating emotions and feelings inside them that they then just accept as their own.
Wow. Okay, so that's the supposed mechanism for the mind seduction bit later on.
That's what it argues, yeah. It sets that up as crucial.
And it breaks down the states. You mentioned beta, alpha.
Right. Beta for alertness, alpha for relaxation, theta for that deep relaxation, edge of sleep state, and delta for deep sleep.
And which ones do they say are best for these exercises?
Alpha and theta. Those are presented as the most effective states for these mind power techniques.
Got it. And then it actually gives specific techniques to get into those states, right? 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 main ones. The first is called the brainwave entrainment technique. This involves using a special audio file. They specifically mention one called Deep Mind 3.
Binaural beats, probably. Stuff designed to influence brainwaves through sound.
Sounds like it, yeah. Using binaural rhythms to generate that Schumann resonance frequency.
How do you use it?
The instructions are pretty clear. Lie down, use headphones, relax, just let the audio do its thing. It even lists some claimed side effects or benefits, like needing less sleep, having more energy, flashes of creativity.
Interesting that they list side effects, but they also advise not getting too hooked on it, right? Like it's a temporary aid.
Yeah, exactly. The goal is apparently to develop the ability yourself without needing the audio track eventually. Don't become dependent, it warns.
Okay, what's the second technique?
That one's called the corrector technique. Now, according to the document, the corrector is a specific spot in the brain located just beneath the forehead.
Okay, a specific brain region.
Seems like it. And the technique is basically to consciously imagine cooling down this area.
Cooling it down.
Yeah, like visualizing it becoming really cold, freezing into ice. The idea is that this lowers your brain temperature, which in turn reduces thought activity and helps lower your brain waves.
That's a very direct approach, mentally chilling your brain to quiet the noise.
Pretty much. The goal is to reach that state where thoughts kind of fade away, that theta level.
Fascinating concept. And the third one?
The third is the color entrainment technique. This one's geared more towards visual people.
Makes sense. How does it work?
You lie down, get comfortable, and then you systematically visualize the colors of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. You focus on each one for about 30 seconds, then let it fade.
Just the colors.
No, there's a bit more. After the colors, you picture yourself standing at the top of a staircase. A specific staircase. 21 steps leading down into darkness.
21 steps. Okay.
And you're meant to mentally walk down each step, really focusing on the feeling of descending until you hit the bottom, the 21st step.
And what's down there?
A door. And this door leads to your special place.
Your special place.
Yeah, described as a highly personal, spiritual realm. Your own dream sanctuary, basically. Could be anything, a peaceful lake, mountains, even outer space, whatever feels right to you.
So it's a personalized mental retreat.
Exactly. A place to meditate and, importantly, absorb energy. The document suggests spending about 3 minutes there, focusing on breathing and visualizing energy flowing into you.
And this special place becomes the setting for the later techniques.
Yes, it's the mental stage for all the subsequent mind power stuff, including the main event, mind seduction.
Okay, so after all that prep work, mind power concepts, hidden energies, altering brain states, we finally get to the core theme, mind seduction. What's the basic principle they lay out?
Right. So remember that core idea they call psychic seduction? It's presented as surprisingly straightforward, in theory anyway. The claim is that you can instantly create sexual attraction. by mentally undressing and seducing the image of the person you're targeting
The image. Where?
in your special place, that mental sanctuary we just talked about.
Okay, so you conjure them up in your mind space and seduce the mental image.
That's the gist. The underlying idea is that as you do this mental seduction, powerful thoughts are transmitted from your mind to the real person's mind. As you're mentally seducing them in your special place, their mind is supposedly flooded with these escalating feelings of arousal.
And they attribute those feelings to you.
Yeah, unconsciously. They perceive you as the source of this sudden attraction. That's the claim.
Okay. How detailed does it get with the instruction?
Oh, very detailed.
Yeah.
It tells you to vividly imagine the person naked.
Yeah.
Running your fingers through their hair, caressing their body, with a real emphasis on the genital area.
Right.
For a woman, it specifically mentions, fondling the clitoris and vagina, really trying to visualize the sensations and the person's imagined reactions.
It doesn't hold back then.
Yeah.
And it emphasizes the visualization aspect strongly.
Hugely. It talks about something called dynamic visioning, TM.
Dynamic visioning.
Yeah, meaning not just seeing yourself doing these things, but intensely imagining the target's orgasmic expressions,
Yeah.
the sounds they might make, the feeling of their body responding.
So really immerse yourself in their imagined pleasure.
Exactly. This vividness, the document claims, is what supposedly compels them to behave similarly in reality.
Wow, okay. But then there's that note, right? The very important note.
Yes. This is where it gets even trickier, I think. While you're doing all this intensely sexual visualization,
Yeah.
you absolutely must not get aroused yourself.
Seriously, you have to stay completely detached.
That's what it says. If your own pulse quickens or your heart starts racing because of the images, you risk speeding up your own brainwave pattern, which apparently breaks the psychic connection. And the whole thing fails.
So you need like a clinical mindset while visualizing extremely intimate acts?
Pretty much. The analogy they use is like a doctor examining someone without feeling personal arousal. The goal is to trigger it in them, not yourself.
That sounds challenging. Maintaining detachment during that kind of visualization.
Definitely. And to boost the effect, they recommend follow-up medicine.
Follow Edison.
Yeah, basically just repeating these mental seduction sessions over several consecutive days, ideally at night.
Keep reinforcing the psychic link, I guess.
Right. And the suggestion is that with consistent practice, the target will start showing signs, becoming shy around you, or even actively flirting.
Okay. And then there's another technique mentioned alongside this, isn't there? The organ heating method.
Yes, presented as a supplementary technique, something you can potentially use in almost any situation.
Organ heating. Sounds direct.
It is. It involves learning to consciously heat up your own hand first.
Oh.
By mentally dissociating from it, imagining it's like a separate object, not part of you,
Yeah.
and then visualizing intense heat or fire flowing into it until you feel it warm up.
Okay, so you learn to mentally control the temperature sensation in your hand.
Right. Once you've got that down, the next step is to mentally link that hand to the genitals of the person you want to influence.
Link your hand to their genitals, mentally.
Yeah, you have to consciously perceive your hand and their genitals as being like one and the same thing, and then you focus on heating up your hand.
And the claim is?
The claim is, as your hand heats up in your mind, so too will their genitals in reality, leading to arousal, which they then unconsciously associate with you.
What's the rationale they give for that working? It sounds even more abstract.
Well, the credo for this technique says, you don't strictly need the deep theta state for this one. It supposedly works because of the powerful psychic link created by that mental association, hand equals genitals.
And repetition strengthens it.
Repetition strengthens the link and enhances the effect, according to the text.
Okay. So mostly focused on seduction, but does it mention other uses for these techniques?
It does, briefly, under other applications.
Yeah.
It suggests you can use similar principles to foster, like warmth and camaraderie with people of the same sex,
Interesting.
or to obtain favors by mentally linking your hand to their genitals while making a request,
Yeah.
which is quite something.
Yeah, that's taking it a step further.
And even to temporarily, impair someone's mental capacity by visualizing cooling down their corrector, that spot under the forehead again.
Wow. So mental influence across a spectrum from attraction to hindering thought.
Seems to be the suggestion. There's also a bit on healing purposes.
Healing.
Yeah, visualizing a disease or ailment melting away in a special pond within your special place.
So the applications are presented as quite broad, potentially, beyond just the romantic or sexual.
Definitely seems that way. which then leads into the advanced psychic seduction section.
Okay, what makes these advanced?
Well, first, there's a prerequisite. The document stresses you need to have mastered vivid visualization first, including conjuring specific emotions, feelings, sensations of touch, all at will.
Right, get the basics down cold. How long do they reckon that takes?
They estimate about a month of consistent practice to get to that level of control.
Okay. So assuming you've done that, what's the first advanced technique?
It's called advanced anchoring for psychic seduction.
Hmm.
This builds on that color entrainment technique we talked about earlier.
Uh,
The goal is to create an anchor, like a trigger, that lets you instantly drop into the theta state anytime, anywhere, a sort of mental shortcut.
like Pavlov's dog, but for brain states. How do you set it up?
You use the color entrainment to get to alpha first, then let yourself drift towards sleep.
Hmm.
Just as you're about to nod off, you do a specific physical action, join your thumb and pinky on your right hand, and mentally say the word theta.
Thumb and pinky say theta. Got it.
Then you let yourself fall asleep. Repeating this whole sequence 8 times during the day is supposed to build a really strong, reliable anchor.
So later, you just do the gesture, think the word, and boom, theta state.
That's the claim. Instant access.
Okay. What's next in the advanced section?
Following that is the seducer's mindset.
Mm-hmm.
This technique uses that theta anchor you've just created. You trigger it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you visualize yourself as this incredibly powerful human magnet, radiating intense sexual energy that just pulls people toward you.
Visualizing yourself as irresistible.
Exactly. Imagining people being physically drawn in, feeling this magnetic pull.
And you anchor that feeling too.
Yeah. While holding that intense visualization, you join your thumb and middle finger and mentally say the word seduction.
Different anchor for the seducer mindset. Thumb and middle finger, seduction.
Right. The idea is that these seductive thoughts and feelings you generate are somehow broadcast outwards, creating this field of attraction around you.
And you can strengthen it.
Yeah, by recalling past moments of intense passion and anchoring those feelings with the same seduction anchor, layering it up.
Interesting. Okay, what else is considered advanced?
Next up is advanced mind control, which brings in the concept of chakras.
Ah, chakras, the energy centers from yogic traditions.
Exactly. Presented here as key psychic power centers. The document proposes that by consciously accessing these centers and like infusing your thoughts with chakra energy, you can exert even greater influence over others. Tap into their primal emotions more directly.
So adding an energy dimension to the thoughts.
Seems to be the idea. And this leads into psychic thought tracers.
Thought tracers, what are those?
They're described as self-propelled globes of energy.
Globes of energy.
Yeah, that you intentionally create and release into the environment. And their job is to carry your thoughts of attraction directly to a specific person.
Like little psychic messengers. How do you make one?
It's a process. First, activate your palm chakras. Then connect with your crown chakra. Then visualize an iridescent globe of energy between your palms.
Okay.
Then you mentally name the globe with your specific intent attraction towards person X. And finally, you release it, visualize it traveling to them.
And how often are you supposed to send these tracers?
The document suggests sending 3 throughout the day is enough to subtly shift someone's perception of you. Needs about a week of practice to get the hang of it, apparently.
Right. Seems like a lot of visualization involved there.
Definitely. Then we get to the ultimate seduction.
The ultimate. Sounds like the grand finale.
Kinda, yeah. It's presented as a comprehensive combo platter of all the previous methods, designed to induce, quote, irresistible desire.
So how does it work? What do you combine?
Okay, so you're in the presence of the target. You activate your altered state anchor, the theta one. You silently affirm your desire for attraction. Girls, come to Palmi, I attract girls, is the example given. Then you focus loving thoughts, visualized as gentle pink orbs of energy. They call this the softener.
The softener, okay.
And you actually use normal flirtatious tactics, but while doing that, you're also projecting energy from your chest, palms, and eyes towards them.
Projecting energy while flirting.
And consciously feeling this magnetic connection forming between you. A very layered approach, using anchors, visualization, energy projection, and actual interaction.
Wow, that's juggling a lot mentally and physically at the same time.
Seems like it. And the last one in this main advanced section is aura meld.
Or meld, what's that for?
This is about expanding your personal aura. The technique involves drawing energy up from the Earth's core and down from the sun simultaneously,
Okay.
creating this swirling cylinder of rainbow colors around you.
A rainbow energy cylinder. And the purpose.
It's said to bring love, provide protection, and offer guidance. It needs to be re-energized every 12 hours, apparently.
And benefits.
Claimed benefits are pretty broad. Protection from psychic attacks, a boosted immune system, heightened intuition. The works.
Okay, quite a range in that advanced section, from anchors to energy globes to aura expansion.
Yeah. And then, believe it or not, there's an addendum, an advanced psychic seduction addendum.
Even more advanced. What's in there?
These are called hypermental techniques for seduction. And they seem, even more imaginative.
Hypermental. Okay, let's hear them.
Well, one is the remote viewing seduction.
Remote viewing. Like spying psychically. But for seduction.
Kind of. It involves getting into a theta state and then consciously trying to transfer your awareness into the target's body.
Whoa, so you're experiencing things from their perspective.
That's the idea. And from their perspective, looking out through their eyes, you then imagine yourself falling deeply in love with your own physical body.
Wait, you, inside their head, fall in love with you.
As seen through their eyes, yes. The idea is this somehow creates corresponding feelings of desire in the real person.
That's a very complex, roundabout mental maneuver. Very immersive, like you said earlier.
It's definitely unconventional.
Mhm.
Then there's psychic handshake.
Psychic handshake, what happens there?
You consciously activate your palm chakras again. Charge them up with sexual energy. Then you mentally command your hand to, draw desire upon physical contact when you shake their hand.
Okay.
And you seal this intention with a visualization of blue light around your hand. So the handshake itself becomes energetically loaded.
Leaving a psychic imprint through touch. Okay. What else?
There's a magic candle spell with a K.
Magic with a K. Got it. Candle spell for seduction.
Yep. You establish a psychic link between a pink candle and the target's genitals.
Link the candle too. Okay.
Visualization, presumably. Then you infuse the candle with your intention for them to experience orgasm. Light it briefly while focusing really hard on that intent. And then, crucially, you consciously banish all thoughts about the spell afterwards. Let it go.
Interesting. Sort of set it and forget it magic.
Seems like it. Then there's the pentagram spell.
Pentagram. Okay. Often associated with ritual magic.
Right. This one's presented as a month-long ritual designed to manifest reality from thought.
How does it work?
You draw a 5-pointed star, a
Okay.
pentagram, with specific symbols inside representing your wish, whatever you want to manifest.
Yeah.
And then, every day for a month, you infuse it with key energy through focused attention and visualization, building it up over time.
A longer-term manifestation ritual.
Okay.
Then there's cosmic force charging.
Cosmic force. Sounds grand.
It's described as a technique for tapping into a universal source of energy. They mention it goes by various names.
Like the source, universal 9, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You use a specific verbal phrase, do some breathing exercises, and make heartfelt requests for strength, protection, guidance, tapping into the big energy source.
And how does that relate to seduction? Or does it?
Well, that cosmic force is then invoked in the next technique, cosmic telepathy.
Boosting telepathy with cosmic power. That's the idea. Enhance your telepathic communication by calling on this cosmic force and then sending really emotionally charged, visualized messages to your target.
So, amped up thought transmission.
Seems so. And finally, in this addendum, there's advanced organ heating.
Advanced version of the hand heating thing.
Yeah. It revisits that, but this time you actively charge both palm chakras, and then you direct that energy towards the target's genitals. But you visualize their genitals being held, like sandwiched between your two energized palms.
So, a more focused remote application of the shooting idea?
Exactly. Aiming to induce arousal from a distance, using this visualized energy projection.
Phew. That's
Yeah.
quite a comprehensive toolkit of techniques described in this document.
It really is. And it doesn't even stop there. It includes a section on user contributions.
Oh, people modifying the techniques.
Yeah, briefly mentions a few examples, like someone named Nell Young suggested focusing on the third eye instead of the hand for the organ heating. Tim Gula apparently suggested visualizing a pitchfork with an ice cube on it to rapidly lower brain frequencies, a variation on the cooling idea.
A pitchfork with ice. Creative visualization.
Right. And things like Angel's phone number method, Massimo's clitoral method, just mentions them as examples of readers submitting their own tweaks.
So it suggests there was or is a community actively playing with these ideas, experimenting.
Definitely gives that impression. It highlights this ongoing exploration and adaptation.
Which brings us towards the end, the epilogue insights. What does the epilogue add?
Well, it really doubles down on the importance of practice. Consistent, dedicated practice is absolutely essential, it says, for any success.
Makes sense for any skill, really. What else?
It also offers a crucial clarification about all that vivid sexual imagery used in the main seduction techniques.
Uh-huh.
It clarifies that the imagery isn't meant to be literally seen or perceived by the target person in their mind.
Oh, so they don't actually see you mentally undressing them.
Apparently not. The imagery serves as a powerful tool for the practitioner to create the necessary mental and psychic links in their mind.
Ah, okay. So the imagery generates the feeling or the connection, which is then transmitted.
Exactly. And that transmitted feeling or connection is what ultimately leads the target to perceive the practitioner as, sexy and charismatic. The feeling gets through, not the specific pictures.
That's a very important distinction, actually. It changes the interpretation quite a bit.
It really does. And the epilogue even shares an anecdote to illustrate this.
Oh, yeah. What's the story?
It's about a user who supposedly induced a remote climax in his wife,
Seriously? How?
using a combination of thought tracers and advanced organ heating, apparently.
Wow. And what did the wife experience?
Interestingly, she reported feeling this incredibly strong, sudden arousal and a powerful feeling of connection to her husband at that exact time.
Uh-huh.
But crucially, she didn't have any specific visual sexual images pop into her head. Just the intense feeling and the sense of connection.
Fascinating. That anecdote really backs up the clarification about it being the feeling, not the visuals, that gets transmitted.
Yeah, it's presented as evidence for that model. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into NLP psychic seduction, we've definitely journeyed through a pretty wide landscape of ideas, haven't we?
We certainly have. From the core concepts of mind power shaping reality,
To these hidden energies influenced by thoughts and visualization,
various ways to try and alter consciousness, tap into those energies.
and just a multitude of techniques aimed at influencing attraction, but also potentially other things like favors, healing, even mental states.
Yeah, it's a whole system, really. And it's important, as we've said, to remember this is a look into the specific document, its unique perspective.
Absolutely.
And regardless of what you, listening, might personally believe about whether these practices actually work, the document undeniably presents a very distinctive, and I think you'd agree, thought-provoking view on the mind's potential.
Oh, definitely. The possibility of subtle, unseen influences in our relationships, our interactions. It's potent stuff to think about.
And for you, our listener, we really encourage you just to reflect on these ideas. To what extent do our thoughts or intentions play a role, maybe in shaping our interactions, maybe influencing subtle energies around us, even if it's not exactly like the document describes?
Yeah, even if it's just about the power of focus and tension and how that changes our behavior and how others perceive us, there are layers to consider.
Exactly. It raises questions about the boundaries between psychology, belief, and maybe something more.
And for anyone whose curiosity is really piqued by all this and wants to, explore the specific theories and practices from the source itself.
The document does provide contact info. There are websites mentioned,
Right, yeah.
www.exceed-international.com, and an older GeoCities one, www.geocities.com/psychic seduction.
Right, and email addresses too. admin@exceed-international.com and president@exceed-international.com. So the information's out there if people want to look deeper into the source material.
So as we conclude this deep dive, maybe we can leave our listeners with one final thought to chew on.
Yeah.
Just how much of our attraction, our connection or disconnection with others might actually be influenced by these subtle forces, these intentions, operating just beneath the surface of our everyday conscious awareness.
That's a great question to ponder. What's happening in the undercurrents?
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining us on this rather intriguing exploration into the world of psychic seduction.
It's been fascinating for sure. Until our next deep dive, everyone, keep those minds open and keep exploring.